In 2008, the city issued $6 million in sewer revenue bonds in order to finance Phase 4 improvements to the water reclamation and reuse facility, formerly the wastewater treatment plant. These 2008 sewer revenue bonds will reach maturity in 2028 and carry interest rates ranging from 3.5 to 4.5%. Currently, the 2017 market is more favorable, and we're looking at refinancing the remaining debt, which is approximately $3.56 million. It's expected to result in a lower interest rate and reduced payments for the remainder of the life of the bond, and this refinancing would not extend the bonds past 2028. As you're aware, an RFP was issued, and we received 5 total proposals from 4 banks, and they were all received by the November 15th response deadline. Our financial advisor, Eric Herringer, and Danielle Quaid, who is part of our bond council, are here to explain the results and kind of explain the process from here that we plan to go through. Okay?
Very good.
Thank you.
Good
Thank you,
evening,
sir.
Eric.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Eric Herringer. I'm with Piper Jaffray, and I'm the municipal advisor for the city of Moscow. What that means is I advise you on things related to your capital financing, bond financing programs. Let's see, I think I can, do I need to tell you where I'm from?
No, you're good.
Okay.
Well, you can if you want.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
the
Why not? 101 South Capitol Boulevard, Boise, Idaho. Don't hold it against me.
Go Vandals.
So, as Sarah mentioned, we met with the city administration team to talk about the refinancing opportunity sometime in early October. Had started actually having discussions in September about this, and presented some different options, ways to look at the refinancing. It was clear to us that there were some savings that could be achieved if the city refinanced these sewer revenue bonds. And we felt that the most efficient way to go about it was to put this RFP out to some local and regional banks to take on refinancing those bonds. And as Sarah mentioned, we had 4 banks respond. There were actually 5 proposals. I know that it's a little hard to read on the screen because the type is so small, but basically I ranked the proposals by interest rate, and the top proposal was from Zions Bank at 2.48%. It was a firm bid that they were willing to hold through the end of November. No fees and no prepayment penalties. So basically they're saying, we'll refinance this at 2.48 and you can pay us off anytime you want, which are some pretty favorable and flexible terms. Columbia Bank's proposal, which I ranked second, came in very similar in terms of a firm rate commitment, no prepayment penalty. The rate was just a little bit higher, 2.55%, but both very strong proposals. And then Wells Fargo and Washington Trust, both of which were indicative rates, which means that, hey, at the time they submitted the proposal, which was November 15, that's what the rate would be, but that would adjust if rates went up or down as you got to closing, and rates have actually gone up since that November 15 date. The bottom proposal from Wells Fargo, you'll notice, has a lower interest rate of 2.02, but that was problematic from our standpoint. It's not a proposal I could recommend because that rate was subject to change if there was a change in the corporate tax rate. And anytime the rate that you pay can change based on not things that are in your control, I tend to recommend against. And certainly now with tax reform coming out of Washington, D.C., it's very likely that the corporate tax rate could change and that rate would then get adjusted up from 2.02. So we felt, in looking at all that mix, that Zions had the strongest proposal. I've worked with Zions on these types of financings before and knew that we would have a pretty clear and clean path forward to completing the refinancing. So in summary, this would basically allow you to lock in a rate of 2.48%. The rate, average rate you're paying on the old bonds is 4.33. So you know the math there is you're saving about 1.85%. The annual savings you'd see is about $41,000 per year. It totals up to around $444,000. Now, part of the way our debt laws work in Idaho is it makes sense for the city to put in some cash to keep the principal amount from exceeding the principal amount you're refinancing. And that's money that's coming from your existing debt service reserve that's you're overfunded in your debt service reserve. So you're putting in $100,000 to save $444,000. Net, the city is saving $344,000 as a result of the refinance, and that's net of the costs that for your financial advisor and for your bond attorneys. So those are real savings. And then this is just a chart that looks at before and after your existing bond payments on the left column, which add up to $4.8 million, and the new payments on the right column at just under $4.4 million. And there's your annual savings in that $40,000 to $45,000 range, adding up to $444,000, less the $100,000 cash that you put in at the front, and that's $344,000 total. So those numbers are pretty straightforward. We're not doing anything fancy. We're not extending the repayment term on the debt, and you're going forward with a lower interest rate, and you still have full flexibility to pay this thing off early, basically on any date, with I think 30 days written notice going forward. With that, I'm going to turn it over to your bond counsel to describe the sort of legal steps. I think there's a question
for Eric before
I do have a question for him. On the Wells Fargo proposal, did you do the math on what the total savings would be there at the 2.02?
We didn't do it at 2.02. I think we could. What I did is I looked at what the potential corporate tax rate could go to, and it was pretty clear that their rate was assuming that let me go back to that.
Well, if the tax bill would pass and corporate income tax rates went down, then that would allow them to
go back up to 255, basically.
Well, if they have lower tax rate, then that should increase their profit margin and make them able to lend money at a lower rate. Or at that rate, that shouldn't cause their rate to go up.
No, it does go up because the bonds are tax exempt, so they're not paying taxes on the interest earnings that they're going to get, and so they look at it as the tax equivalent. So if they had a taxable product, they'd need to earn a certain rate.
Because they're not placing these with someone else.
No, they're putting it in their portfolio.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're just comparing
Thank
this
you.
against the tax. Yeah.
Yeah.